it into episodes and then add music to each episode.
Yeah.
Uh, so it could be 10 episodes long. It could be 5 episodes long, and then add the music to it. So that's how I do it now. I mean, I've only started just putting it out straight away on the day because I noticed that it gets more engagement when
Right.
it, you know, we'll see anyway.
And of
Right.
course, when you actually edit it, I guess
Yeah.
you edit out that version, all the mistakes are gone. So basically, it's a podcast with just me, I suppose, is it?
Yeah. Sorry. Go on. Yeah. I just wanted to stop that
You
bit.
missed what I
So,
said
so
then.
yeah. Yeah. So, what did you say? Sorry about that.
But what I said was the edited version.
Yeah.
I guess you simply edit out all the mistakes. So what's left is basically a podcast of me, isn't
Yeah.
it? I'm not
Basically,
being very kind there, am
yeah,
I?
yeah. So yeah, so that's what I do.
Right.
So that goes out, and then there's the there's the just the vocals as well. So the visual goes out. I edit that
Yeah.
into like six parts, and
Okay.
then the audio goes out separately as well. So there's always our music on it. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna
Good stuff.
press the record button again now. Ah, yes. So, do you want to do the opening remarks for this one, please, bro?
Yes, indeed, brother. Yeah, this is our weekly podcast, The Alien Spaceship, where we try to introduce some interesting topics, hopefully sometimes successfully. My name is Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I'm Americans, and he calls me Cuz. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship. So, bruv, over to you. What topic
Hmm.
are we discussing today?
Well, in a way, there's kind of three I think I put on the introduction.
Yes.
Um, behavior, personality, and what's the last one? Oh, the love conundrum. Yeah. So there's
Mm.
some pretty big subjects there, which we probably won't get through. But I've got quite a lot of difficult questions, and I just hope you've got the answers, Cuz, because I certainly don't. You're a newly married man, so these things should be fresh in your
Uh,
mind. I mean, basically, it's talking about, and I'll ask you the first question in a minute. I think it's where we left off a week or two ago. We all
right,
have unique personalities. Every human is different based on various things. So part of the question is going to be, or our discussion, do our individual personalities with the inbuilt biases, perhaps from our genetic makeup, etc., does that affect how we behave in all sorts of situations in life? So in other words, does our personality is pretty much it's 50% pre-formed basically
right,
from our genetics. So when we're born onto the planet, 50 to 60% actually is there, pretty much embedded in us from our parents, and of course they from their parents, and so on. The
right,
other 40 or 50% is pretty much based upon our life experiences, the way we were brought up, um, all sorts of elements, our environments, the views we form at school, etc., etc. So that kind of makes up the rest of our personality. But as
right,
we'll see, really, we are still all different. And what one interesting thing that I will just read, which is to do with this, really, evolutionary advantage from a survival standpoint. A tribe made up entirely of identical personalities will be vulnerable.
right,
Diverse temperaments ensure that a group had some people who are bold explorers, others who are cautious, detail oriented planners. And that's quite an important part of it because we ask ourselves, do we really then have the choice as to whether we are going to be a bold explorer or a very cautious person? And it's a serious point. Someone who has, for example, a fear of flying, which I know you do, and a
right.
lot of people do, is that kind of, do we get any choice in that? Do we think one day, well, actually, I don't like the idea of flying, so I'm going to be frightened of it? No, I don't think that's what happens. I think some things are inbuilt. So let me ask you the first question. Why do you think we all have different personalities? I mean, I've kind of already answered that question about the genetics and the personality, but maybe given that we are skin and bone, we are flesh and blood, our brains, which are incredible, as we've discussed many times, are basically a complete show of electricity. There's these trillions of electrons zooming about in our brains, in the trillions, quintillions even. So it's very much a physical business, what's going on up there. So how do you think that generates the differences between people, the sense of humor, the cautiousness, as we've said, the bravery? Some people, and I'll touch on in a minute, some extreme
Mm,
sports.
mm.
Um, where do people get that from? That they want to risk everything for the buzz, the high of walking on a high building or climbing a rock face with no rope and so on. So, first question then is, why do you think we have individual, unique personalities? Is it something more than what I've already said, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot more to it. And this there will be things like influences, you know, and these days we have people that we call influencers as well, don't we? That would subconsciously or subliminally put certain things in our heads, and we would sort of go along with it subconsciously. Now there's also the environment. The environment plays a lot of it plays a part in that as well, and in shaping our personality. And there is also peer pressure, I think. I think peer pressure for instance, if you're in a group with a certain and you're trying to fit in, um, and you're being seen as an outsider, you try your best to want to conform to
Yeah,
the sort of things around you. You become like a human chameleon, where you change your color.
yeah.
Um, Now that might not be bad. Some people do it to garner business, or be in with the sort of right people that you think you can progress with, if that makes sense. And some people do it out of fear. They just think, well, I'm not going to be the odd one out. And there's also genetics, like you said. So I think the rest you've covered pretty well.
Hmm. So that's the thing, isn't it? We are flesh and blood. You wouldn't look inside of us and see some kind of machine, except we could call the brain a machine, obviously,
Mm,
and it's totally incredible. So I wonder why some people, it said some people want to do this, some will do that, and for a balanced society, that kind of has got to happen. So it's like nature or evolution or whatever
yep.
provides all the necessary components of that. Now, to look at one example of, shall we say, an extreme sport, and that
Mm,
is free diving. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's where you don't dive in as such. You're on a boat, and the object is to go down as far as you can on
mm,
one breath. So you don't have any oxygen, anything like that at all. And I mean, this has been going on for many years, and different people have held the world record for this for one breath. I mean, it's so dangerous that when they get right down to the bottom of the line that goes down with them, and they do have divers around them with oxygen in case they get in trouble or whatever, which they do sometimes, who can then
mm,
try and get them back up. But this is a very dangerous thing. And when they get to that lowest point, their
mm,
lungs apparently are kind of like walnuts. They've shrunk to that degree under the pressure of the water and because you're not breathing, that it is a dangerous sport. And I think on average, so I read this week, 50 to 60 people a year die while they're doing free diving. So again, it
mm.
kind of begs the question, what is it that gives the people this desire, this buzz to put their lives so much on the line? Now, the current record holder is an Austrian guy. He's 56, and
Mm,
his name is Herbert Nisch. And he's been doing this for a long, long time. Now, in 2012, he broke the record, and that record still stands, although many people try to beat it. And he
mm,
managed to go down 253 meters, which is 831 feet. Now, can you imagine that? If you think of a traditional football pitch as about 100 meters, 100 yards, whatever, two and a
mm.
half times that is how far this person went down on one breath. Now, the
Wow.
incredible thing is, when he got down there, because of the various factors that affect your body, he
Yeah.
actually fell asleep. Now that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? He's got
Oh,
no mask, no, he's not breathing, and he
yeah.
fell asleep. And this is a known hazard, so that's where the people step in to help him.
Mm,
And they brought him back up. He was holding his breath overall, even when he was asleep, apparently, for 9 minutes to do this world record. So that's quite a long period of time.
mm,
On his way up, he got some decompression sickness, even though he wasn't breathing. And although the doctors, the prognosis was he wouldn't be able to do much ever again
mm.
physically. He overcame all that, and and I believe still does free diving. But
Wow.
you can just see the risks involved are huge. So that 50, 60, say one person a week dies around the world doing free diving. And really, my point is, what is it that turns people on to do these things, which are, so dangerous? It's one thing to do stuff like roller coasters or something that's not going to kill you.
Mm,
But I mean, there was another couple, an American woman and a Russian husband. She was Francis, he was Sergei, and Arsentev was their name. Anyway, I think it was in 2009, they decided to climb Mount Everest. She was
mm,
actually the first she was the first woman to climb Mount Everest, and they did it without oxygen. Now, again, these days, when something's been done often enough, if you May is the time people climb Everest, that's the most favourable conditions. And you may have seen recently, and if you watch any kind of, perhaps online, the
mm.
lines, the queues on Everest of people. I mean, it's been so completely oversubscribed now, such that Nepal and the other where the Sherpas are, they don't quite know what to do. They try and limit the numbers, and obviously they do to some extent. But anyway, so this couple, I think, as I say, it was in 2009. Let me just check that. Yeah, 2009. They wanted to be the first couple to climb
Mm,
to the top without oxygen and then come back down. Now, if you think we humans can breathe just about at 14,000 feet on those horrible aeroplane disaster films, or in
mm.
fact it's true, if there's a decompression, a pilot has to get the plane down probably to 10,000 feet. But if you get below 14,000 feet, apparently we'll be able to breathe properly. And that's what happens if there is a problem. They bring the plane down quickly and the masks drop down. So above 14,000 feet, where the air is rarefied, we can't
Mm,
really breathe. So people climbing Everest, they take oxygen, the vast majority. Some have done it without oxygen, quite incredibly, but there's always the risk of altitude sickness, which is a killer. Anyway, this couple did it. She was the first woman to do it without oxygen, and they both were coming down, and they both were hit between the eyes with altitude sickness, and they died
oh,
actually
oh,
on the slopes. Now, I think his body sort of fell and disappeared. Her body was there for a few years afterwards, and I think she was called a sleeping beauty because other climbers each year were going past her. And indeed, there are lots of bodies, sad to say, on Mount Everest. It's almost like they can't get them down. So
mm.
you almost wonder if the people who died there, they were doing what they loved, and their bodies don't decompose either because of the cold conditions. Anyway, we don't want to go into that, but you've got to say, why did that couple risk their life and actually lost their lives, their one chance at this incredible existence by doing that. Now, going back to holding your breath, you probably don't know the answer to this, and I'm not going to ask you to do it.
All
But how
right.
long do you think you could hold your breath for? What, just as a ballpark figure, how long do you think? You can try
Uh,
it later if you want.
Probably 90 seconds, I reckon.
Yeah, that's a good guess because again, I've tried it for years. I think I was at school when I last tried it, but they say between 30 and 90 seconds is what people can do. But of course, we
Mm.
have this breathing reflex, this involuntary reflex, because we have to breathe. And of course, if our brains are starved of oxygen for, they say for 4 minutes, it can be
Mm.
lethal. Now, obviously, the free diver wasn't affected like that. And to give you another example, there's a world record for somebody, and this was only done last year, somebody holding their breath. And I'll ask you how long you think it's for. Let me tell you, he's another free diver, and his name is Vitomir Maricic. And he held his breath recently, last year, at the bottom of a 3 meter pool. It's quite cold water. He
Yeah.
laid on the bottom and he created a new world record. I don't know how much he beat the previous one by. So have an estimate, have a guess how long you think he held his breath at the bottom of that pool. The world record holder for the free dive, Herbert Nish, took 9 minutes to get. They got him back up again. So what do you think this man held his breath for? How long?
Maybe just over 10 minutes.
No, it was actually 29 minutes and 3 seconds. Now,
Wow.
it seems incredible, doesn't it? And he's right
Wow.
as rain. I mean, his brain didn't starve of oxygen. Often thought that because the coldness of the water is obviously made cold,
Yeah.
somehow preserves the activity of the brain, something like that. 29 minutes and 3 seconds. And just one other sort of interesting bit of trivia on this. We all know Tom Cruise, and
Yeah.
in his movies, he's well known for doing his own stunts. I mean, he's always been known to do that, virtually all of them, whether it's hanging onto helicopters, albeit with a safety line. But of course, they don't show you that in the movie. That's all cleverly cut away. But he does his
Mm.
own stunts. Now, one of his Mission Impossible films in 2015 was called
Mm.
Rogue Nation. So you can watch this for yourself to see this. But he trained extensively because there was a scene where normally a stuntman would have had to be underwater quite a long time. So he
Right.
trained for quite a while before the film was made with free divers to learn how to do this. And incredibly, really, he managed to achieve 6.5 minutes
Mm.
underwater, not breathing.
Wow.
Hi there, how you doing? All right, it's good to
Yeah, I'm
see you.
good.
So,
Hi,
so
guys.
yeah, 6.5 minutes, and in the film itself, which we can see if we look it up, as I
Yeah.
say, Mission Impossible. Um, what did I say it was called?
Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation in 2015. He's under the water for 6 minutes, Tom Cruise. And again, you've got to be risking things, but he was quite prepared. He was quite prepared to do that, wasn't he? So we've just
Wow.
been saying that about people who take risks, with their lives, Jerome, and why they do it, why our personalities are like they are, and we then relate that to why do we behave in certain ways? Do we really have any great choice about what we do? Because 50% of our personalities are genetic. We don't really get much choice in that. The rest
Mm.
of it is upbringing, environment, life experiences, and that makes us what we are. But we're all still pretty different. So we're looking at why that should be, and we're relating that to this what I've called the love conundrum. I mean, love is a huge subject for us to cover, obviously. But just
Mm.
as a final point on how we are individually affected, under neurochemistry, dopamine and serotonin, these hormones, they drive our personalities. Someone whose brain is more sensitive to dopamine may be a thrill seeking extrovert, while someone less sensitive might be more cautious. Well, we don't decide whether we're sensitive to dopamine or anything else, do we? It just happens.
Yeah.
So there's that factor again. We don't seem to have an awful lot of choice in that. And yeah, the remaining portion after the genetics is shaped by how we're raised, our culture, peer groups, and all of those things. So we're going to try and relate that to people in terms of love. What is love? And I was going to ask the question to Cuz here,
Mm.
which is, I can find it. What is your definition of love?
Um, my definition of love would be something that is uh, felt or given unconditionally. I know there are different aspects of or different types of love, but it is just something that you generally feel.
Okay.
You can't explain it.
Well, okay, let me just give you the original Greek definitions of love, and I'll pick
Right,
you up on the first thing you said in a minute about it's something we give unconditionally. I'm
right,
going to ask you if that's really possible. Now, the four types of love are the Greek words for them. It's philia, philia, which is brotherly love, affectionate,
right,
friendly love, that sort of stuff
right,
between close friends. Storge, Storge, which is a natural family type love, like a parent to a child.
right,
Um, Agape, which is an interesting one. It's what is described as an active, altruistic commitment to another person's happiness without expecting anything in return. Now, that's really
right.
what you've just said. And the last one, which we'll all be pleased to know, us guys, Eros, the passionate, romantic, and sexual love between human beings. And maybe that's the one we're going to focus on a bit. But I
Mm,
will say to you, Cuz, you said love unconditionally, which is more like the agape love. But I assume you meant it anyway in love between two people. Now, why
yeah.
why do you say that love like that is unconditional?
Uh, it's a bit hard to explain because really, no matter what kind of love, which is a far which is an extension, not an extension, but it's farthest away from hate, right? So no matter what kind of love that you have in mind, it has to come from a place that is not conditional. It's not dependent on anything really. And maybe I might be defining real love or true love. I don't know, but it has to, in my opinion, it has to come from a place where there's no strings attached to it. I don't know if I'm making sense. Oh no.
I think it makes sense. What about you,
Uh,
Jerome? What do you think? Do you think it's possible to love somebody in the human love sense unconditionally?
Uh, I'll say yeah. I've got a couple of friends, and yeah, there's no like sexual relationship with it does, but there's that bound and respect, which I believe it comes from a place of love. You know,
Yeah.
when you respect somebody, you've got that bond whereby you look out for each other, you got each other's back. I would classify that as a form of love. It's got no emotional or sexual relationship, if that's the right word to use. So, yeah, it comes. It depends on what you've got with that person. Like you said, there are varieties of love, like the one from the family. Yes, it just it's my sibling, so you just have that natural love for the person, right? And there are
Yeah.
some with your friends or colleague or people you grew up together. You just have that bond, that respect for each other, and that can be. I would classify that as love as well.
Okay. Yes, it certainly is one of the forms of love. But if we look at, we'll come back probably to the idea of unconditional love, if there could be such thing among humans, and we're thinking more of a relationship type love, the eros type love, can it really be unconditional? Um, if I said to you, either of you, if I said to you, cuz, I love you, cuz, but now, hang on, that sounded good when I wrote it down. That doesn't sound quite so right now. That sounds completely inappropriate. But and I'm not coming out or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say, if someone says to you, "I
Yeah.
love you so much, such that I can't live without you,"
Hmm.
now does that not bring in a bit of a conundrum in love? Because somebody feels so much for that person, but they're saying, my needs are so important here. I cannot live without you. Now, I guess probably we've all known that sort of love. I mean, I was married for a good few years and eventually divorced. Not on my part, I might say, but there we are. Um, so you feel that such strength of feeling for somebody that, in a way, love almost demands itself back. It demands it in return. So there's just that side to love that we think we must have our needs answered because that person means so much. And to me, that is a conflict between this love, this idea that, yeah, a nice definition of love, I've always thought, is wanting the highest good for
Hmm.
your partner or for the person you love. And that's great. But is it possible to feel like that if actually nothing's coming back, if you're not, or even not enough is coming back, if there's a mismatch of what's coming back towards each other, and maybe that's why consistently for years now the divorce rate is 42%. It's a bit stuck on that, and I think in the USA as well as the UK, for
Hmm.
over four people out of 10, four couples out of 10 get divorced, and maybe you get a mismatch of love. Um, in one of my songs, I'm not pushing my songs, but one of my songs, End of a Dream, I say in that song about friendship dies on a one-way street. Now,
Hmm.
even friendship, even that sort of brotherly, sisterly love,
Hmm.
I don't believe, or perhaps my experience tells me, that you can't have a one-way friendship any more than you can have a one-way love affair. By
Right.
definition, they have to be reciprocated. And this again is the quandary, the conundrum of love, because I'll come back to the question, can we possibly have or give somebody unconditional love where we expect nothing coming back in return?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
invest all of yourself in somebody,
Hmm.
but you're not getting anything like the same back. In other words, it probably would feel like what we call unrequited love. Does that work? I don't believe unrequited love works in a relationship. I mean, that's just my opinion. But can you see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Do you really think any of us are capable, any human really, are capable of giving completely unconditional love, expecting nothing and maybe getting nothing in return? Is that possible, do you think?
We are not. We're not. It's not possible. It's definitely 100% impossible, I would say, because we're not we're not wired right, are we? There's something wrong fundamentally,
Something wrong.
morally.
It's
Yeah, something
interesting.
wrong.
Something,
Yes, there's something wrong with every
well,
human being. Yeah, yeah. Because when you feel you can you filter what you're thinking? It's impossible. You cannot filter. Say, for instance, you wake up and you think, right, I'm gonna think only positive thoughts today. You failed. Because it's not gonna work. And if you think it's not gonna work, it doesn't work, no matter how you have to force yourself or try to position your mind in that frame where it shows you. It's
mm,
like tuning into a channel where there's a lot of channels in your brain. You have to then find that channel and tune into it. But you cannot be on the same channel or frequency for, I would say, longer than 10 minutes. In
mm,
10 minutes, something changes in your brain. and you have no control over it. You have no control over it. You cannot control it. It's impossible. You can control what you do with it, or how you act on it, or how you choose not to act on it, but you cannot control that thought from filtering through.
No.
It, it will be there. And so that's why I say we're not wired right. We're not perfect. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and
Humans
I think
are it.
you're right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
as we said, we have different hormones, different experiences right from the day we were born.
yeah.
So that brings the question: do we really should we chastise ourselves for not being the person a partner always wants us to be? I mean, it brings another question: when two people fall in love,
Mm,
are they really falling in love, or should we say, are we really falling in love with a projection or a fantasy of what we want them to be, right?
mm,
Especially if we don't know them that well, rather than what they might be. So we're starting off a bit of a difficult way because we may
yeah,
be loving our idea of somebody and our
yeah,
idea of being in love with that person
yeah.
without really knowing them. So that is another aspect of this. What about, let me ask Jerome, what about jealousy, Jerome, and possessiveness in a relationship? Where does that come from? And is that something that can be justified as part of love?
Jealousy and possessiveness. I wouldn't say it that would be justified. You don't own you can we can't own the other person. Yeah. If you go into a relationship, I believe it should be a kind of commitment within two people, right? So you don't literally own the other person.
Of
So
course.
and that's why on my part I do advise people going into a relationship. You have to be cautious. You need to know the person you're going into that relationship. The kind you can't know the person just like that. Yeah, but it
Mm,
takes time. And if you think the person has been like it's been like a narcissist or controlling type, love being in love like most of the women they act on emotion. At times they don't. Sorry to say, I'm not trying. Not everybody, not all of
yeah,
them.
careful, Jerome,
Oh
careful.
yes, yes. That's why I'm apologizing right now.
You've been listening to Cuz too much, I think.
Yeah. So times some people go with they act emotionally rather than looking at um trying to analyze the issue on ground and stuff like that. But yeah, so you need to understand whoever you're going into a relationship with. Jealousy can be negative.
Mm,
Possessiveness, trying to own the other person, trying to detect what the other person does and does not do in a relationship.
no.
It's a negative sign for me. It's not worth it.
What about you, Cuz? What do you think on jealousy and possessiveness?
Well, jealousy will always be there. Possessiveness, on the other hand, is a very deadly trait. Possessiveness is a very deadly trait because you're not putting you're not putting the other person's feelings into consideration. What you're putting into consideration is yours.
Mm,
Your feelings is the be and all, which is where possessiveness can be very, very deadly. And possessiveness could lead into, committing a crime or wanting to harm the other person because you want them to conform. You want conformity.
mm,
That's what you want. So that's very dangerous. But jealousy, there's a healthy side of jealousy, isn't it? There's a healthy side of jealousy because without jealousy, I don't think there's love. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if somebody is not jealous, and I'm talking about the healthy dose, a healthy dose of jealousy. I'm not talking about it's either me or whatever. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about, missing somebody and just wondering where they are, but not not being on the extreme, not thinking they could be doing something they shouldn't be doing, for instance. But just being there and thinking, yep, I think somebody else wants you just as much as I do.
Yeah.
I think that's healthy, in my opinion. Yeah. But
No,
possessiveness is toxic. Yeah, go on.
as you say, we're not talking about the toxic side because there are some very serious incidents, aren't there, where somebody's jealousy or possessiveness goes haywire, completely out of control, and that's dreadful.
Absolutely.
But all I'm suggesting here is that, and I think I agree with you. I think there's a healthy level of jealousy because it shows how much you value and cherish your partner, and how you would hate to, again, maybe the self bit comes into it, how you would hate to not have them in your life. So as long as those elements, even possessiveness, can be controlled, because in one way, possessiveness, probably more than jealousy, is a bit of a no-no in a relationship, isn't it? Because,
It is.
I think probably women more than men, and it's often recognised that men and women are structured differently. Men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or all those sorts of things. And there's a lot of no criticisms in there. There's a lot of truth, I think, in that we approach much of life from a different angle. We don't know what it's like to be the woman to go through what they go through, whether it's physically as they're growing up, or in any other way, getting pregnant, for example, all sorts
Mm,
of things, the menopause in later life. And the women don't know what we go through, the boys that men go through. So it's a matter of trying to be mutually understanding. But I do think women probably feel a man who might be a bit possessive rather than just a bit jealous in a healthy way. But to be possessive, when you start saying, "Well, I don't really want you doing that. I don't want this," that's when I think a marriage or a relationship, not necessarily marriage, can go off the rails because
mm,
maybe men, maybe there's more of a programming in us men to look
mm,
after, to protect, to defend, and that's all in our biology. We can't apologize for that, but in a way that can take over a bit and almost know what's best for your partner. And I think women are very aware they don't want that level of possessiveness because it can be a poison chalice. And I
mm,
suppose the truth is, when we meet somebody, if you don't really know them, for the first 3 or 4 months, it's well known that we only show somebody what we want them to see. It's all a little bit artificial for the first 3 months.
mm,
Gradually, though, if the relationship carries on, people show they can't help but show more of themselves. And that's when people will realize they're not completely compatible on this or that, and so on. And hopefully the relationship goes forward. It's just quite useful, really, to see some of the background to these things. Um, what about something like a crush or infatuation? Do you think they can be defined as love?
mm.
Jerome, what do you think, Jerome?
In fact, oh, uh, in fact, I wouldn't classify that as love on my side. Um, just you seeing someone dreaming of the person and wanting to be with the person. Personally, I would just say no. I'll just say no.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's
What about you?
just
Yeah, go on.
I'll just say no. I'm just leave it like that for now.
It's the beginnings of a relationship, isn't it, really? What about you, Cuz? Do you think that's a crush, so called, is part of love or the beginning of love?
Yeah, I think a crush is perfectly normal. I think it's good to we all dream, don't we? We all dream. Um, but where it could get dangerous if we're trying to acquire or trying to be in a position of and in unobtainable position. It's dangerous. But yeah, you can have a crush on somebody. That's not a crime. You can have a crush on somebody that you can't even dream of being with. That's why it's called a crush. You know,
Yeah.
you never think you would ever be able to be with that person, but yeah, you still dream about it. You think, well, I wish. And some people go as far as having pictures of this person plastered over their, walls of their bedroom. They just look at it and they know it's not. They know they can't attain it.
Mm.
But if somebody then start acting on their crush, that they start, it then becomes stalking, don't it? That's where stalking
Well,
comes in.
there's a bit of a leap there, but yeah, you're probably right. I
Yeah,
mean,
but that,
just to conclude. Sorry, Jerome, did you have
yeah,
something to
well,
say there?
when someone starts talking, and you see, because with love, I believe it should be mutual, yeah, from both parties. But if you just, oh, okay, you just see someone on the street or that doesn't know you, or probably on the screen, you start dreaming and start stalking. I don't, personally, wouldn't see that as love.
No,
I
no.
wouldn't consider that to be love. It should be a mutual thing within two or more parties.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the reason I said no in the first instance.
I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty sound conclusion. So, just to conclude, we know that love relates to the heart, a physical thing that pumps all our blood. So, just one or two facts about the hearts. It was Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, who actually made the word heartfelt. It comes from his philosophy that the heart gathered sensory input through the blood vessels, giving rise to thoughts and emotions. So he kind of started this bit of loving someone with all our hearts. So just a few numbers. Our heart beats over 100,000 times every day. That's mind blowing, isn't it? This little
Yeah.
organ beats over 100,000 times every day. The heart pumps approximately 2,000 gallons of blood every day. To match the volume of blood pumped by the heart in a lifetime, a kitchen tap would need to be left on for 45 years.
Wow.
Each day, the heart produces enough energy to drive a truck 20 miles each day. The
Wow.
heart, now this is coming back to our lovers thing. The heartbeats of a couple in love synchronize after 3 minutes of gazing into each other's eyes. I expect
Mm.
you found that with Jeanette, Cuz, didn't you?
Yeah.
The pressure generated by the left ventricle of the heart can squirt blood 30 feet across a room. And lastly, a woman's heart beats approximately 8 beats per minute faster than a man's, which is
Mm.
quite an interesting one. So there we are. That's love, the love conundrum,
Yeah.
things we didn't know about love. There we are.
Yeah. Well, I had to say that in case Janet's listening to it in another 10 years.
I fed you
When
that
she
one.
when she's preparing the divorce papers, going, oh.
Yeah, good one.
Right, this is all we've got time for. Thanks for joining us on the Alien Spaceship, listening, and I hope you're live. But if you're watching it on record later on, we hope you enjoy it as well. So I've been Emmy Hickens, and he calls me Cuz.
And I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv. And our friend Jerome is there.
Yeah.
Good
Right.
to see you,
Right.
Jerome. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Love
so this is so it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
and bye from my side. Thank you.
Right. So well, we're
Right,
just gonna give
take
ourselves 2 minutes
take a
to get a
break.
drink.
Yeah,
Yeah, take a break, and then we'll start the
yeah.
football referee. Yeah. Jibaba.
Yeah, Baba. How you doing?
Mhm. I did, Jari. I did.
How but you know.
We thank Jehovah.
You say at the sleep.
No be small.
Now, now
As I just
I just
see
I say not today. Oh. I said I wake up my phone.